Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going on a trip, a Middle Eastern one. I first had this cake basbousa or harissa as it is often called in an Egyptian friend's house and absolutely fell in love with it. Typically, it is a semolina and a coconut batter sweetened with rose or orange water flavored sugar syrup and cut into diamond shapes. The texture is quite similar to a cornbread. I have adapted the recipe. Instead of whole almonds, I'm using flaked almonds and less sugar as I find it a little bit sweet even for my sweet tooth. So let's get cooking. We start off first by making the sugar syrup. This is a rose water sugar syrup. Classically in the Middle East, they also use orange water or rose water. I'm using rose water here. So it's water and it is white sugar which is brought to a boil. Now I like to keep my syrup slightly less sweet and also not too heavy. So I'm just going to melt the sugar down and squeeze in a wedge of lemon in that. So the lemon juice actually prevents the sugar from crystallizing. It also takes away the impurity. So if there's any impurity in the sugar, it will come up to the top which you skim off. My sugar is of a good quality, so it's perfectly fine. We cool the syrup down. This is important that it is cooled down. Never add rose water or orange water into a hot liquid. Always cool it down. If you add into hot liquid, all its flavor is lost. So a couple of tablespoons of rose water into the liquid and let it infuse for half an hour for the flavors to be absorbed. To make the semolina cake, semolina goes into the bowl. I like to use coarse semolina, baking powder, sugar. You can use fine semolina if you like. I like the coarse textures because when you actually eat it, that the bite comes into your mouth. So when it's a very fine semolina, it's very smooth. Then goes in soft butter. Avoid using melted butter and definitely not, please do not put cold butter into the cake batter. It does not work. So the soft butter is then mixed with the sugar, the semolina and the baking powder, and what you will get is a consistency somewhat similar to a crumble. You need to come to that kind of a texture. So the semolina absorbs the butter and it begins to become like a sticky texture together, comes together literally. Then goes in milk at room temperature. Nothing has to go into the batter which is at a cold temperature because it will not mix well. So milk at room temperature, mix together. And now you're probably wondering, oh chef, I made a mistake because it's too runny, still too liquidy. Don't worry, there's enough milk which will be absorbed by the semolina. The semolina has got so dry it soaks in all the liquid. Then goes in desiccated coconut. You can use fresh coconut if you have. Mix it all together. So again, the semolina cake is almost done. The batter is done. Then we grease the cake tins. So we take in almost 8-inch by 7-inch cake tins and we're going to grease them with oil. A little extra is required here, and the reason I'll tell you why, because on top of this I'm going to put my greaseproof paper, and because the semolina cake is too dry it will tend to stick at the bottom, so you have to apply a little extra below the greaseproof paper so you don't take any chances. So even the sides are actually very well greased. The first tray is done, then the second tray, again the base is got oil, then it's got greaseproof paper. And now there's something very important which is going to give a very nice flavor to the cake. I will now grease the greaseproof paper, but this time with tahini. Tahini is basically sesame paste. I have given the recipe before. Please make sure you go back and have a look at it. Very interesting, very simple to make. You can also buy it store-bought, but perfectly okay. Now grease both the cake tins with tahini all over it. Then pour in the cake batter, the semolina cake batter, and here can you see it? How much of the liquid is left now? Not much. I will still say that it can still take a lot more, and that is what the sugar syrup is going to do. It's going to add a little softness at the very end. Semolina tends to absorb a lot of liquid. Once the cake is done, sprinkle it with sliced almonds. When the almonds cook in the oven, it gives a very nice golden color. This goes into a preheated oven at 180 degrees centigrade or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 25 minutes till the cake is done. And here we are. The cake is done. It has absorbed all the liquid with the fine skewer, make lots and lots of holes on the cake. Literally make lots of holes, because now you're going to pour in the rose sugar syrup, the rose water sugar syrup, and all the syrup is now absorbed by the warm cake. Always pour the syrup into a warm cake and never into a cold cake. The warm cake absorbs all the liquid. With the sharp tip of the knife, loosen the cake from the edges so it doesn't stick, and also when you take the cake out, it will not break. So make sure you loosen it up. And now you realize why we had so much of grease and the butter paper on the cake, because it is dry and it tends to stick. Once the cake is cool and demolded, cut it with a knife into either diamond shape. I am doing into a very plain simple square shapes. This is a crumbly textured cake, and you'll see as soon as I cut it, it begins to lightly open up and some pieces can break up, which is perfectly okay. That is the beauty of this cake. It is semolina after all. So here we are. Our cake is done. For me, it is best enjoyed with a cup of green tea. So that's my semolina and rose water cake. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you try it at home and leave your comments on the section below. Bon appetit and thank you for watching.